Hi, so nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. But yeah, thank you for interviewing me.
Well, thank you for accepting.
All right, fantastic.
So, for everyone that's going to watch this is director and writer Connor Doyle, who wrote and directed the short horror movie In the Flesh, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Um,
Thank you so much.
so can I ask, would you prefer to be called Connor or Mr. Doyle or
Yeah, Connor is fun.
Connor? Yeah. So when did your love for horror start?
Well, I guess my interest in horror kind of peaks in like for as long as I remember. I've always been interested in filmmaking kind of as an ultimate like storytelling device.
Hmm.
At least at an early age. And like for the longest time, I've always had like an interest in classic cinema. Grew up watching a lot of older films. Like there in the US, there's this program called Turner Classic Movies.
Hmm.
Watched a lot from that channel, and from there, kind of gained like interest in like the classic Universal horror films like James Whale's Frankenstein, Invisible Man, Wolfman. But I
Hmm.
was also really intrigued by the films of Alfred Hitchcock and
Yeah.
psychological thrillers. Um, Getting into his work and material kind of really like had me think about how like film can be like more like psychologically motivated and how the form of cinema can like increase tension, have you follow the story, and how like these narratives can be exciting and also intriguing. And that has kind of like motivated like my perspective for like going into adulthood and like making my own films. Um, it wasn't until like I left college where I kind of realized that genre could be explored a little bit more.
Hmm.
I mean, psychological thrillers are just so intriguing just because like they explore the darker aspects of humanity while still allowing for like giving a bit of wiggle room to kind of address human needs, human desires, um, and kind of move forward from that. And like around like 10 odd years ago, 2010s, there were just a number of different filmmakers like using the horror genre and the thriller genre to kind of address those larger social themes, kind of like the films of Jordan Peele and Ari Aster, David Eggers, um, Roger Mitchell. And yeah, that just kind of like motivated my perspective, just trying to figure out what I want to do and what kind of subjects I wanted to kind of write towards. Um,
Hmm.
but so just going off from that, and heading uh, into like in the flesh, I kind of um, started having the idea about that during the 2020 COVID pandemic
Hmm.
lockdown.
Yeah.
During that time, I was working on a second script that was going to be a little bit more complicated, but it had been a long time since I had like done a film like this at this level. I hadn't really done anything substantial since college. My thesis film, which was actually an adaptation of a Franz Kafka short story called Judgment.
Hmm.
But it's kind of difficult just because I was heading into like a new community. Most of my contacts from the judgments were lived in other places, and I didn't have any like backing from the school. Um,
Yeah.
in order, I would be doing this project like completely independently. Um, so a lot of the resources just weren't there. But I had like intentions to create something, but then like
Mhm.
the 2020 pandemic happened, and I had to reassess my options, um, as it kind of happened for a lot of other people too. Um, so I guess In the Flesh kind of started as this script experiment of like, what can I write that can be shot like in a single location, minimal resources, shot in my house, so I don't have to worry about leaving the house. Um,
Yeah.
and I guess at that time I was really drawn towards um, kidnapping thrillers, or at least there were stories about. For some reason, I was watching a lot of Law and Order SVUs. Um,
Right, sure.
Yeah, and I guess the narratives of like people kidnapping other people and forcing them into like a family situation, like men kidnapping women, forcing them to like play a wife or spouse role. That kind of played into it. Kind of
Hmm.
also just thinking back to the Hitchcock element, I guess I was weirdly um, like thinking back to Hitchcock's Vertigo.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, just in terms of like one person forcing another to play a role, and having them kind of reassess their grief, but also kind of having that in kind of a serial killer narrative. And that's really where uh, the idea of the character Jeremy kind of played in. Just
Hmm.
because he is this like terrible character, he is like going through a lot of emotional trauma in the worst way, but it's really an exercise of how can you like show empathy from a monster, essentially. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, which those narratives really do interest me, and I just kind of wanted to explore that in like a theme of transference,
Hmm.
emotional transference. But a lot of my work has been kind of interested in ideas about grief, like people experiencing trauma, um, the loss of a loved one, and
Hmm.
that I guess that kind of re-entered into In the Flesh. It's just having this one character deal with their trauma, but in the most selfish way possible. Um, and so I was exploring this idea, and I had more or less a beginning, a middle, and a terrible ending, which I devised and kind of immediately rejected.
Hmm.
So it took me a solid 3 years to try to figure out what essentially I needed to figure out about these characters in order for them to move and for the narrative to move. And eventually I had the final script.
Personally, the ending made me sad because spoilers, I wanted them to live like happily together and just be like cute together. Um, I went
Well,
through similar watching Creep there, if you've seen the first Creep movie.
I
The ending of that made me sad.
haven't seen that, but I've had a lot of like people attached to the film who have, and um, I've heard very good things about it.
Hmm.
But I think what I really wanted to go out for was having the emotions of these characters genuine,
Hmm.
but
That I
still
think that's really
making,
felt.
yeah, but still having that even more terrifying.
Hmm. So recently I actually watched a documentary about Hitchcock, sorry, and how fascinated he was with like Ed Gein, the real life serial killer, and how
Mm.
it influenced Psycho. And I just think it's really interesting that as humans, we're so attached to and interested in the darkest parts of other human beings. And film's a great way to try and explore that and portray it without actually becoming a psychopath and doing it. Um,
Right. I one thing what's great about Psycho is it has you in into those themes just in terms of like Varian's relationship with her family. Um, but still like have the like final twist such a gut punch because
Mhm.
it's completely subverts everything that you had expected. Because the film was like at the beginning very similar to like North by Northwest, or you think it's actually going to be like a crime thriller or a
Mhm.
domestic, like how the domestic life turns into like the crime life, and it does, but in a very extreme way, more than like I believe 1960s audiences were expecting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for Psycho, I am very that was also a very big inspiration in terms like the form, um,
Hmm.
the visual form of our storytelling, especially during all our montage sequences. But yeah, we were also drawing off of like the films of Silence of the Lambs. That was also like a big inspiration for us.
Yeah,
Uh,
you can definitely tell that.
yes.
Yeah.
Also, what else? Prisoners. Denis Villeneuve's Prisoners was
Hmm.
like a really big film that I we had our cinematographer look at just in terms of telling the story like visually, but also like the direction of like how do you kind of approach a grieving character doing terrible things
Hmm.
and also build off the tension of that.
Yeah. Was it really difficult to write Jeremy? Because I think especially his final monologue was so well written. I was grieving like 2 years ago when my dad passed away, and it's something we've pretty much all gone through. And I think you can really empathize with Jeremy as a character. Even though most people don't take it to that extent, we've all felt the powerlessness and not wanting to get revenge on other people, but like sometimes you subconsciously want to take it out on other people.
Mhm.
So was that difficult to like delve into to write?
Well, I think it was. That's part of the reason why the script kind of took pretty like um, so long to actualize or write. But I think the biggest challenge was trying to figure out, um, oddly enough, the character David, or at least their dynamic, um, just in the way that although the solution was very simple at the end of the day, I just was kind of like overthinking the dynamic a little bit. But I think that's one thing about creating like genuine characters or um, true characters is just you've got to kind of delve into your experience as well. So when like going into Jeremy's brief and like the whole dialogue between Jeremy and Ted playing David, where like Ted understands a little bit of what's going on. Like he
Hmm.
watched the video of David dying, kind of getting this last or almost like last conversation with Jeremy about life and dying that kind of came through some personal reflections of life um, from me. And which is interesting because it's kind of like um, just with Jeremy and with all the terrible things that he has done, you got the process kind of involved trying to figure out how to show that he's a real character.
Hmm.
And one thing that you got to do is you got to write from what you know. Um, which is something as a screenwriter I always have had issue with.
Mm-hmm.
Just that idea about writing from what you know. Although you don't know everything.
Yeah, and it
It's kind
must be
of
difficult if what you're passionate about or interested in, the story you want to tell, if it's different from anything you've actually experienced. Not many people have actually experienced horror.
right, but I think it kind of, well, of course,
Yeah.
but what goes into it, or just in the process of writing this script, is in a way, Jeremy's also dealing with these questions about whether his emotions reflect the same emotions as other people too. It's
Hmm.
really interesting because there is this filmmaking dynamic within the film itself, um, in the way that Jeremy and Ted are filmmakers. They're playing the role, they're recording it on videotape, they're reading off the screenplays in order to actualize a character to life, and that character is David. Um, but what's interesting is that it kind of goes into the themes of like, or it goes into the questions of is David really being, excuse me, is Jeremy really being true to what David actually wanted?
Hmm. Or is
And
he showing the perfect version of what I'd want?
exactly. Or is it more reflective of what, of Jeremy's own needs,
Hmm.
which helped me finalize what I wanted to come out from the scripts and finish the scripts. And I hope it shows in the final film too.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like your original intention, but I could sense a lot of sibling rivalry between the two brothers. Um, and I think that definitely shows I don't think my partner would mind me saying he sees himself as the less favorite of him and his brother. And I think it really shows a sort of less favorite child's perception of the favorited child and how they think everything around them was perfect when in David's perspective it might not have been.
I think that, I mean, with sibling dynamics, it kind of goes without saying. But
Hmm.
yeah, from there, there's also like a lot of personal growth.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, there's a lot of personal growth for the character, but it's still never completely gone. Just because for Jeremy's sake, he never figures out his own needs, or he never makes the connection that his own needs also are connected with other people's needs.
Hmm.
And he never like until he realizes it's too late,
Yeah.
um, that he can never really let go. Yeah, he can never really let go of what happened to David. Um, he can never really let go of what happened to David until he um, realized it was for the better
Hmm.
and like heals his own wounds. Or at least that's kind of what I wanted to go from this.
Hmm. Yeah, you can definitely see that. Did you find the casting process really difficult?
The casting, yes. Well, I think one of the major challenges going into production was finding the crew,
Hmm.
the cast and the crew who would work on the film, just because, like I said before, I was doing this completely independently. Um,
Yeah.
and also moving back to Chicago, which is where the film was produced and where I'm currently living.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't have the resources or like the connections, unfortunately, at the time.
I
So
think
I
Chad was a perfect find. Just putting out there, like he plays Jeremy perfectly because he does the psychopath so well, but also like I just felt so sorry for him, and
oh yes,
he
Chad
he,
was like
he does it all so well.
so yeah, funny story about that. So for our casting, we did a lot of like searching through this website called backstage.com,
Hmm.
which helps you find local talent. And it took a pretty long time finding like Jeremy's actor just because we wanted to take the time because he's the emotional core of the film. We had to get it
Hmm.
right. And we went through a lot of different performances, and I found Chad's profile, and it was amazing because, like, I saw his pictures online, and oddly enough, so one thing I always like to do for my films is I make a detailed storyboard. It helps me with my directing process and like blacking,
Hmm.
blocking each shot, so it makes the shooting like much more easier.
Yeah.
And I do that all by hand. So my drawings of Jeremy, or the way that I envisioned him, looked
Hmm.
exactly like Chad. Like,
Yeah.
I kid you not. And actually on Hardware Productions, uh, the Instagram site, we have like a shot for shot storyboard to film still matchup.
Hmm.
And you can see the exact comparisons.
I
Um,
think I've seen some of them in your press pack you've sent me,
yes, yes,
and
there.
yeah, they're really good.
Thank you. But I was just amazed. And also the thing about Chad, he is such like a dedicated performer.
Hmm.
He went above and beyond trying to find this character and trying to like figure out how to portray him well, but he's
Hmm.
also um he doesn't go completely method. He is like very conscientious. He's very easy to work with,
Yeah.
which made the process so much easier. And he's a fantastic guy too.
Hmm.
So if you're ever casting, Chad Malin's the guy to look for. But no, the font, the it's just the whole process was just so surreal, having it from
Hmm.
and eventually bringing it to life. Um, our crew that we found like were a fantastic group of people. Uh,
Hmm.
Pat Ewan, he was our cinematographer. He was actually this was his first narrative film that he did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he
Mm.
primarily did music video cinematography.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
but I mean, his vision's phenomenal, and he did such a fantastic job. Same thing
Hmm.
for Anthony Diaz. Um, he was our gaffer and colorist. Um, what else am I thinking? Jade Easton, she was our assistant director. Uh, let's see. Sky Muri was my friend. I reached out to her to like help with producing the movie, and
Hmm.
like, we had been trying to make a movie together for a while. She was like a fantastic help too. Um, DC Parapat,
Hmm.
who is the composer, he was actually in the same program in college with me. He's a fellow filmmaker too, but he's a fantastic synth composer. I had heard his work and I knew it would like match very well within the Flash.
Hmm.
And he completely knocked that out of the park. But yeah, I am just so fortunate by the team that we found.
Yeah, you found a great group of people
Mhm.
for sure. Can you explain a bit more the process of starting your own production company and creating independent movies?
Well,
I just want to preface that as well and say congratulations for starting your own production company because that's like insanely impressive and wild, especially the time you would have set up and stuff and post-COVID, like everyone's struggling. And yeah, congratulations on In the Flesh in general.
Well, thank you.
Um,
Thank you so much. Well, starting the hardware productions, I mean, more or less for any independent filmmaker, you just got to figure out what you call yourself.
mhm,
Um, but I knew for In the Flesh, definitely wanted to get that by the book just because, um, like the film it didn't have so much action, but it did have a lot of like legal entities that
mhm,
like the scene, oh, and spoilers, but there's a scene of someone falling down the stairs. There's a
mhm,
scene with knives, guns. Some of them are props, and some shots they're real. So we did have to get our legal ducks in the row, and that's just
mhm,
um, making an LLC, or at least in the States, that just helps cover, especially when dealing with production, which wasn't uh, too expensive. Our whole budget was around $25,000 mark.
mhm.
But when dealing with so many different factors, that just helps if in case anything does go awry. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but just as long as you like keep your paperwork in a row and
Mhm,
stay on top of everything, it is a lot of work, but it is worth it.
mhm,
Um, But yeah, it's also, I would say for anyone just getting into independent filmmaking, even in a short, like in its short form, it's good to know these skills just in case when you do work on like anything that's $500,000 or the $1 million budgets, you at least
mhm.
have some experience dealing with the business aspect of filmmaking. And essentially,
Absolutely.
that's the main thing. That's if you want to grow into the business, it's good to have some background in doing that.
hmm Thank you so much for sharing that with me because I've not got a degree in film or anything, never studied in it. I'm literally just a girl that loves horror movies and I appreciate everything from 5 minute shorts up to feature films.
Well, that's
But
the
yeah, I'm
thing,
so interested in all the company production part and what actually goes on behind it. Like, I never even would have thought about the fact legal stuff comes into it with weapons and stuff. But then it makes sense after like Alec Baldwin's gun situation and stuff. It makes complete sense, but I never would have thought prior that you would get legal stuff involved during
right?
the making.
Yeah, Alec Baldwin's Rust scenario has definitely
Mm,
it's made like a lot of
scary.
independents. Oh yes, it is very scary, and
Hmm.
like also has made people realize, oh, you've got to be careful. Like you really got to be careful, because like people's lives are at stake.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just as long as and I guess this is for any large scale creative endeavor. It's just safety is always something you got to keep in mind, especially
Hmm.
as a director. Just
Yeah.
because as a like a director or a producer, you want to be sure that everything goes smoothly, everyone's comfortable, everyone's having a good time too. Um,
Hmm.
because it's better that your crew is enjoying the project and not like dreading every waking minute. Because sometimes like days do end up getting long. Like there were
Hmm.
shoot days that kind of went into the like late AMs.
Yeah.
Just just because we were just starting out and kind of working our flow. But yeah, there are a lot of things. My best advice is the more you plan ahead, the better your results are going to be.
Hmm.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the main reasons I had made the storyboard, just because I actually did a storyboard in college for my thesis film
Hmm.
on the Judgment. And it was such a huge help just figuring out what we needed to shoot that day, how we were going to do it. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so
I didn't
it,
realize, sorry, until speaking to another director, like he knew exactly like what shoots were on which day and which part of the movie, and of course all the scenes you film are in a completely different order to what the film actually goes like. So I imagine having a full storyboard is such a helpful prompt.
it is. And some directors are but like work the completely opposite. Yeah, I guess it really depends on personal preference. But just from my personal expect that excuse me, my personal perspective, uh,
Hmm.
it really does help.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, any more advice that you would give to any directors or writers wanting to go into the industry or be independent specifically?
The only thing I would also advise is don't rush. It's okay to keep like a good idea on the back burner for a while. Um, like I said, In the Flesh took like a solid 3 years to write, mostly because I
Hmm.
had to move on to other things, um, dealing with like personal things as well during that time frame. And
Yeah.
like if you do have a solid idea but don't know how to get there, if you like keep it on the burner, keep it souping for a while, eventually like from personal growth or any which way you can figure out how to get there.
Hmm.
It's just it's never great to rush into anything, uh, unless like you know that you have something that thematically works sense and like flows very well as a narrative.
Hmm.
So yeah, if you have a good idea, don't don't rush into it, but also um, don't let yourself like not get motivated towards it.
Hmm.
Um, just in the way of saying, oh, I'm not figuring out how to get this script idea the way I want it. It's a terrible idea. I'm going to quit filmmaking and um,
Hmm.
get a desk job. Uh, or like some other job. But yeah, I would just say keep at it, or
Hmm.
yeah, don't be afraid to give yourself some time on some projects.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Have you seen Heretic with Hugh
I
Grant?
haven't seen it, but that's the one with uh, what is his name?
Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant. Yes.
Yeah. I was reading the IMDb for that the other day because I watched it and did a review on it. And it actually took them 10 years to finish the script.
Oh, wow.
Because it delves so much into different theologies and religious beliefs and things. They
Mhm.
wanted it to be perfect, perfect. So literally 10 years. So don't be deterred, anybody, because it could literally take years and years and years to come up with your ideal script.
Mhm.
But yeah, I want to say congratulations for In the Flesh being in the Thing in the Basement festival and Hysteria Fest.
Yes, yes. We actually just got back from Hysteria Fest in St. Louis, Missouri,
Hmm.
and we actually were awarded best medium length, medium length film,
Yeah,
which was
congratulations.
yeah, that completely blew us by surprise, and um, but we're just very happy that people are watching the film and it's being received very well. Uh,
Yeah. Well, the
and it's
awards are very well deserved.
well, thank you so much.
Can you give any insight or advice into submitting to a film festival? Do they approach you? Do you submit?
No, for most film festivals, you would submit to the festival.
Hmm.
Film Freeway was a resource that we used when submitting to all of our festivals, just because it allows you to like get all of your festival materials together. So production stills, the screener, all the information you have about the film, and
Hmm.
submit that into a nice package to whatever festival you're looking at. And
Yeah.
they would get back to you if you were accepted or not. Um, but yeah, we wanted to kind of concentrate on horror festivals, genre festivals. And you got to remember with a lot of festivals, they're just looking at so many different films, especially
Hmm.
big ones like Sundance, Slam Dance, Chicago International, Fantasia,
Hmm.
all the big players. One challenge that we kind of reached when submitting in the flesh, it's kind of got a unique length. It's 43 minutes, so it's not quite a short, which is usually under
Hmm.
20, and it's not quite a feature, which usually is over 60. So it's a little bit of a bridge between, which
Yeah.
it's a decent length to like for a person to watch just because it still has it's not too short where it doesn't have enough substance, but it's not too long where you lose interest. But for festivals, it's kind of hard to program. So we did want to kind of focus on uh, like medium length films. So
Hmm.
I would say the best advice for anyone looking into it, do your research, figure out, well, yeah, when editing, it's good to kind of keep these time factors in mind if that's what you really want to do, like have your film being shown in festivals. But there are also like other ways to share your work, either through online, through what we ended up doing through Amazon.
Hmm.
Um, but also, I would say, let's see, but yeah, I would keep those factors in mind and also figure out where you want to show your film to. Like, if you're close by, do you want to concentrate on your area? If you want to show it abroad because you want to go abroad with the movie. Um,
Hmm.
so there are a lot of factors in play,
Yeah.
but yeah, if you keep those in mind, then it will help.
Yeah. I just want to say for anyone watching that hasn't yet watched In the Flesh, you absolutely should. But also, the length for me was perfect because I've got a 1 year old. I have to fit all of my movie watching and reviewing and stuff around her nap times and her bedtime. So a shorter movie, a lot of the time, is great because I can fit it in her nap time or just after she goes to bed, and then I'm not going to bed too late. So I always try and boost movies that are a shorter length because I'm like, if you're a parent, they're the perfect watch to get your daily dose of horror, but you don't have to sit down for 3 hours.
True.
Will we be seeing any more horror productions from Hard Rhyme, or have you got something else that you're thinking about?
Eventually.
Hmm.
Um, right, right now I'm still in the writing stage for a number of different projects.
Hmm.
Those you would hopefully we'll be seeing those in the next few years. One project that we're kind of co-producing, or
Hmm.
I'm co-producing, actually is this documentary of a giant pumpkin grower in Illinois.
That
Trying,
sounds awesome.
yes, he's known very well around the area for like giant, but growing like 1,000 pound, 2,000 pound
Oh,
pumpkin
wow.
and carving them into jack-o'-lanterns.
Hmm.
So with hopefully we'll get that done within the year. But keep an eye out.
I would love to watch that. I'm definitely a pumpkin girly.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, so could I also ask, it's a bit off topic, but
Go
what
ahead.
what horror movie releasing this year are you most excited for that hasn't released already?
Ooh, oh, that hasn't been released already.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing comes to mind, but one film that I did see in the last few months that I was very
Mm-hmm.
surprised by is 28 weeks, 28 years later.
Years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, yeah, it was great to see Danny Boyle kind of go back
Mm-hmm.
into like his like his form. Just
Mm-hmm.
because I've seen 28 Days Later and I've seen other Danny Boyle films, and it just
Mm-hmm.
seems like the last few years he's kind of like delved into more pop material, which I
Mm-hmm.
never really got into. But 28 years later actually delves into like surprisingly emotional material, which is
Mm-hmm.
something I always appreciate filmmakers within the horror genre
Yeah.
get into. It deals with also themes about grief,
Mm-hmm.
themes about survival, but also dealing with uh, almost an inescapable existential dilemma,
Mm-hmm.
which you would never really think to experience within the apocalypse or post-apocalypse. But it
Yeah.
was a really refreshing take.
I love the grittiness of the filming style within the franchise as well. Like the first one was amazing. Like the opening scenes across the bridge in London and stuff was really good. And then this one, like because a lot of the scenes are filmed just on iPhones, like he's an icon in the filming industry and is gonna go down like in the history books and stuff for being the first one to do this on such a big scale.
Yeah, the first one, I guess I didn't realize this until recently, but it did have a big impact. I saw
Hmm.
that when I was a teenager, but the fact it was kind of dealing with these like heavy, like horrific subjects, but
Hmm.
still being heartwarming at the same time, just because it's following these human characters and their um, trials of staying human in the midst of this like terrible uh, like switch of their lives.
Hmm.
And that really shows in the form of the cinema, um,
Yeah.
and also through the script too,
Hmm.
which is something I always like want to engage with in my own personal work. And I
Yeah.
that that something that in the flesh has been informed on as well.
Hmm. So you said in the beginning that you was a fan of the Universal monsters and sort of creatures of the classic movies. I'm really excited for Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein that's going to
Oh
be
yeah,
released on Netflix later this year. Is that one that you think you might be excited for?
I think so. I do really love excuse me, Guillermo del Toro's films, especially
He's the
Pan's
king of
Labyrinth.
monsters.
Oh yes, but
Hmm.
also he takes horror and like brings it to this whole other but horror and
Hmm.
fantasy, and really like goes into the humanity of it. I am a big fan of Pan's Labyrinth. I
Yeah.
really love his take on the new like remake of Nightmare Alley.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that was an exceptional remake. Um, but yeah, I am excited to see his take on that story.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. Um, but yeah, In the Flesh is available to watch on Amazon, I believe.
Yes.
Um, any other streaming services it's available on? I know I'm in the UK, so I might be slightly different to what you can access.
Gotcha. Not currently. We are also selling physical copies
Mm-hmm.
off of our website, hardrideproductions.com, in a
That's
DVD, yeah, a DVD, Blu-ray, and even VHS.
mm-hmm.
So if you
So
are into physical collecting, take a look at it.
I love VHSs. Like there's just something so nostalgic and comforting about a physical chunky VHS.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, as much as we love streaming services, it is a bit devastating what it's doing to physical media.
Yeah,
Um,
it is.
mhm. If you was to sorry, if you was to describe In the Flesh in just one word, what would you use?
Ooh, one word. Transference? Uh, that is a tough question.
hmm I think my word to describe it, it might be a bit dramatic, but suffocating.
Ooh,
Like
okay.
you really got the sense of being trapped. Because it's not just like being trapped in someone's house, it's Jeremy's like trapped in his own mind, is trapped in his past with his um like life growing up with his brother and yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's perfect.
Yeah. So either suffocating or trapped, like yeah, there's just a lot of underlining themes of that, I feel.
Mm. Yeah, I would
But
have to agree with that.
hmm but yeah, thank you so much for doing this interview with me.
Thank you so
And
much for having me.
also, I just want to personally say thank you so much because Hard Rhyme Productions was actually the first independent movie company to reach out to me and ask me to interview a movie. And since doing that first review, I've now had quite a few. So I'm so, so grateful for you finding me on Instagram as a random horror fan and reaching out to me. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm so glad. We're so thankful for your review of the film and also the interview. Having you
Mhm.
spread the word, it really means a lot.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. But yeah, everyone go watch In the Flesh. It's on Amazon. And thank you so much, director Connor Doyle, or writer and director Connor Doyle, just overall creator.
All right. Thank you for having me.